I'm Robin Macy, MS, and I am a recovery coach as well as 43 years as a trauma counselor. And this is the next phase of the Positivity Project because we're so excited to bring to the recovering community, whether that's from trauma or sexual abuse, the story of and the potential for energy psychology. As therapists, we spent so much time being helpless in really knowing how to help relieve trauma. Because originally we would allow people to talk about it, regular counseling would talk about it. But when we went back and checked them later on, the trauma patterns were all still there. It helped someone be heard, but it didn't relieve the trauma patterns. And then cognitive therapy came along, which was a real improvement, which said that if you change the thoughts about the trauma, then that changes the feelings about the trauma. And that did help somewhat. And then energy psychology came on the scene, which said if you change the energy flow and the energy dynamic with emotional first aid and emotional acupressure, then that changes the thoughts and the feelings and releases the trauma. So, what used to take 7 years for a single incident trauma now can be cleared in one session. So, we're very passionate for our clients, but we're very passionate about ourselves because our group, FREA, is all in recovery from our own trauma.
I'm David Hicknett from the UK. I've done a number of things, primarily in mental health social work. My energy psychology for me, well, because it works, which is the main thing, it works gently, it works rapidly, and its effects really last. And it also gives someone agency instead of just sitting and talking for maybe several hours, maybe, as Robin has said, for several years. It allows you to do something right from the start, to invest in your recovery process. And it works very, very rapidly. I remember one client saying to me how they just bring things up so rapidly and how that does it then bring them down so rapidly.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes we need to put the brakes on a little bit so the person doesn't get too much in one mouth. So it's about pacing. But yeah,
I love my FREA team, finding recovery and empowerment from abuse. We've been together for a long time, and I serve a lot on humanitarian teams. I'm the lead on the emotional first aid team for the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, and a few other things that I lead. And the most amazing thing about this positivity project that I am now fully behind for FREA, but also for the world, is we all need to learn how to connect with this love ball. This is how one client describes us. This love ball that resides inside of us, this compassionate self, this magnificent self, this beautiful being that we are. So that when we have difficulty, that we can come to our own heart field, take a few breaths into that heart field, enjoy some gentleness, whatever it could be, and then approach, not just talk about or talk over or analyze, but approach our difficulty. And I know you all have had an experience who had a grandkid or a child or a friend's child, or even watched in a park a child falling down. And the mom or the caregiver comes from this loving space, the love ball, and picks that being up. That's a kinesthetic response, picks that being up. And almost always you'll see they'll pat them on the back if they're really young, or if they're not so young, they'll put their arm around them. They might tap on the arm or squeeze. And they'll often rock back and forth. And those are all energy psychology techniques. Really, they're life techniques. They really are about connecting with that loving, beautiful, magnificent being that we are. But instead of applying it outside of ourselves, which we all do magnificently, we actually put our arm around ourself in difficulty. And we come to meet and we tap on acupressure points, emotional acupressure. We stroke down our arms in havening and come to meet and let this distressed part of our energy system, our emotional system, know that right now it's okay to relax and rest and to be safe. And of course, we're going to get revved up again. Do you know what I mean? Because life has difficulties. And especially if you're recovering from abuse, there's a lot of interpersonal conflict. But if we can learn and have that agency that David talks about to connect with our own love ball, our own loving self, our own beautiful being, and comfort ourselves with energy psychology. I'm using the word comfort really specifically. We don't want to analyze or think about or try to change it from the head down. It is actually coming to our being and comforting ourselves. And when you learn that, you are going to be well, and you are going to celebrate your magnificent life, even when there's difficulty, because we all know life has difficulty. And so, yeah, that's what the Positivity Project is about. But that's really what FREA is about. Finding recovery. Now I'm going to forget it. Finding
And
recovery,
empowerment
empowerment after
from
abuse.
abuse.
From abuse. Okay, that's really what FREA is about. And that's why we use energy psychology and why we're spending a lot of time with you these past months to help you to find your own love ball. And so, Holly, yeah, I'm going to give it to you.
Thanks, everybody. As I'm listening to you, you're covering such a really broad sort of span of what energy psychology is about. And of course, made me think of all kinds of things. And I think the first thing is just a story to tell you that I have this little issue that when people tell me that I'm analyzing them, I'm like, I am not. I get challenging about it because I don't think people understand what you just so beautifully expressed, that there is a healing way for psychologists and counselors to be with people that doesn't have anything to do really with analysis. It has to do with being there, being present, and being able to guide someone to be able to get to their presence by letting go of the trauma and the charge and whatever they're carrying from the past, right? So I think that energy psychology gives us those kind of abilities to do that in ways that most, I would say, most other therapies don't. Most other therapies, in my knowledge or experience, don't. So that's another profound aspect of it. Agreeing again with David about the agency, I think one of the first things that I loved about it was this empowerment, this sense that we are giving people tools. We're teaching you simple tools that, as long as you can remember to use them, help you navigate your day so that whatever it is that you're bringing forward or is coming forward from the past, you have much more ability to navigate it yourself. And you learn, one of the fascinating things to me in my own journey with energy psychology was really learning that I could shift. I could move into a more positive psychological state, right? Using these tools. I could do it in the moment. I could say, I'm feeling this way, and I could use my tools and I could move myself into a balanced state. And I didn't, as well as most people, don't know that we have that kind of capacity to navigate our world emotionally. That most of us are ending up acting out emotions that are making us really uncomfortable rather than to being able to express them or shift them. And so that's another profound element in this. And along with part of what Kristen was saying, as a developmental trauma therapist, one of the frames that I work with is the healing of the fragmentation that happens within from trauma. As soon as there's trauma, there's a tearing of the energetic, psychological wholeness of a being. And with repeated trauma, there can be repeated tears. And so these fragments within, these fragmentary times and moments or parts, whatever word you want to use, and part of the healing journey is repairing those relationships so that we begin to have more and more of a loving relationship with our wounded parts, who then begin to have more of a trusting relationship with us because we're loving them. And we come back into a harmony together that creates a wholeness that is and can be magnificent, right? And the journey, one thing I do want to say, a little nuance piece here, is that what we're saying about how fast energy psychology can work is absolutely true and not an exaggeration. It's not. And yet, it doesn't always work that fast, right? Depending on the kinds of issues that you're bringing forward, the numbers of traumas, it still can take time. But you begin to feel more empowered more quickly. In fact, many times in the first session or second session, it's like a person is feeling much more balanced, energized, focused, empowered, and hopeful. Right? So yeah, I know that energy psychology has given me tools to do healing work with developmental trauma that I could never have gotten to any other way. And I am forever grateful to energy psychology and all the pioneers in energy psychology, and the openness within the field to continue to discover, what works, that energy within our field is, it is so supportive. It's so creative. It's so, there's another word I want. But it's that energy, I think, that is also part of this positivity project, right? We have learned that magnificence is really capable of being reclaimed and flowered or bloomed or whatever the word is. And most therapy you go to is not going to tell you that. And if you're relying on pharmaceuticals, they're going to tell you that the best you can do is to continue to take these medications. Very few people are telling you that you can move into a life of magnificence. And we want you to know that that's absolutely true and possible. So thanks for listening to us. We might have a few more minutes here. Is there any last comments that each one of you might want to make?
I want to say something.
Okay.
I also am a long-term developmental trauma counselor. And as those little wounded parts that are encapsulated come out in this field of love and support that we develop simultaneously, it's so amazing to see all the resources that even these wounded parts have as they learn how to heal and integrate and play into the system, to have an interrelationship, because trauma, everybody goes away from each other inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. And what we're trying to do is to create a circle of love where everybody is welcome. And not only is it so fast, I can tell you a really quick story about being out with PG&E in a camp for utility workers where they lost a man, and they were all sick with what I call the trauma flu. Do you know what I mean? In this terrible thing. And we were in a hotel lobby. And I brought up just one app, Self-Help for Trauma, which is trauma tapping. And we just tuned in to that app, and I tapped with them for 5 minutes. And we just came to meet lovingly with full presence that distress of losing this man and possibly being responsible for this loss. And these guys came from this crumpled up place to a much more expansive, relaxed place, and were ready to discuss how this happened and how it could be prevented in the future.
And wonderful, Kristen.
5 minutes of tapping. That's emotional first aid. Maybe that doesn't resolve all their trauma from the past and everything, but that's emotional first aid. And I want you to know how quick it is. And you all can go to this app, Self-Help for Trauma, and it's free on your phone. And it's a little cartoon character that you can tap with, or you can go to FREA, our FREA site, and we have all kinds of videos that are done really well that you can tap along with, hug along with, stroke along with, breathe along with, to see what works for you to soothe yourself. And I want to let you know, it is quick and it is powerful, and it gave agency back to the person. That's why I love energy psychology.
Great. Okay, Robin, David, last words?
I just love everything that the three of you have said. I found myself going, yes. And I think it's a very cogent and coherent message to put across to people. So bless you, everyone.
And my last statement is, has the ability to have tools to take us from our reactive brain to our intentional brain that can see things in a more expanded, higher mind way.
If you have any comments, we would love to hear them. So put them below this on the YouTube channel, and we will respond. And we all wish all of you a more beautiful day and know that just for having listened to this, there will be lights that go on inside that brighten you from the inside. And we wish you all that's good and beautiful on your own journey.
Blessings, blessings, blessings.
Until next time.
Thank you.